and losing, look, you got PFF grading you every week, like you were just referencing there before I came on. They're grading you. And now you go as a first-year quarterback, you barely know shit, and now everyone's telling you suck, and it takes a while to regain your confidence.
The operations aren't there. He's not the guy. Is that too soon?
Yeah, but I would argue this. You're assuming that everybody knows how to develop a quarterback. You're assuming that you're going into a program. I mean, I'm telling you, this is not, there's a lot of people who have no idea what they're doing when they're tasked with coaching a quarterback or calling an offense. So are you saying, I mean, just like we'd rank quarterbacks 1 to 32, do you rank offensive coordinators 1 to 32? Do you rank quarterback coaches 1 to 32? Well, what if you had the 32nd ranked coordinator?
Tom Brady blasted the NFL in Cleveland, arguing that while players are constantly judged and ranked, the coaches who control their future escape the same pressure. He stressed that quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders are always under the microscope, yet the coaches who shape their careers and make the key decisions face little to no accountability. Brady claimed that many coaches fail to give players fair chances and in some cases don't even have the real skills to properly coach a quarterback, yet they still keep their jobs and power. He went further, slamming those same coaches for saying Shedeur Sanders isn't on the same level as Dylan Gabriel or Joe Flacco, exposing the bias and hypocrisy in their judgment. He then fired off tough questions at these coaches, asking if they had ever truly given Shedeur Sanders the chance to prove himself in practice or helped him break down and master the playbook. Brady argued that if they hadn't, which looked obvious, then they had no business doubting his skills or performance. He didn't stop there, once again blasting the coaches for saying Shedeur Sanders isn't on the same level as Dylan Gabriel or Joe Flacco, calling out their unfair and biased judgment. He then hit the coaches with sharp questions, asking if they had ever actually given Shedeur Sanders the chance to prove himself in practice or backed him up in learning the plays. Brady argued that if they hadn't, which seemed pretty obvious, then they had no right to criticize his talent or performance.
And that's a hard thing to evaluate, but I'd also say there's not many people who even know what to do. It's not like they're CEOs of businesses. A lot of times they're football coaches, with all due respect. They're not running large corporations.
Right.
As Bill Parcells said, they're PE coaches a lot of times that get elevated to, coaching positions.
And Brady's argument hits hard, especially in Shedeur Sanders' case, where the double standards are obvious. One coach will talk about evaluating him and building his skills, while another dodges questions and gives no straight answers. It's clear these coaches don't really know how Shedeur can grow or prove himself when they refuse to give him real reps or opportunities. Without that vital support, it's flat out unfair to demand he succeed or live up to their expectations. But that's exactly what keeps happening. And this isn't the first time it's been exposed either. Stephen A. Smith and Louis Riddick called it out long ago, saying this coaching staff refuses to give Shedeur Sanders a fair shot. Stephen A. went straight at the issue, blasting the situation around Sanders. As Shedeur was about to start his first preseason game, Stephen A. flat out said he's being set up to fail, and here's why. Shedeur hadn't gotten a single first-team rep up to this point. He was pushed aside, never given the chance to build chemistry with the starters. And now, out of nowhere, they're throwing him straight into the starting job. According to Stephen A., this isn't just a careless mistake, it's a straight-up setup for failure. Something feels off, and Stephen A. is exposing it for exactly what it is.
But I'm going to answer this question by saying Shedeur Sanders. And I'm going to tell you why. There's been 11 practices, if I remember correctly. He's been starting against he's been playing against the third unit. He's fourth on the depth chart. And then suddenly you throw him into the start lineup, and he hasn't had any reps with the first team.
Louis Riddick also weighed in on Shedeur Sanders and the coaching staff, adding another sharp layer to the debate. While Riddick admitted that Shedeur would eventually get his shot, he exposed the real issue, the shocking lack of reps he had been given with the starters. Riddick stressed that even though Sanders was finally being handed an opportunity, he'd be forced to play at an unreal level in those tiny windows.
Why?
Because he hadn't been given the time or resources to build real chemistry with the team. The odds were stacked high against him, and those tiny reps only piled on the pressure. It was obvious to everyone that the coaching staff's handling of him played a huge role, especially compared to how other players were treated versus Shedeur. Louis Riddick didn't hold back. He made it clear that players drafted this low almost never reach the first team unless they've got someone in their corner, someone willing to fight and push for their opportunity. Riddick's frustration exploded when he pointed out that nobody even knows who actually pushed for Shedeur Sanders to be signed in the first place. That kind of uncertainty, in Riddick's eyes, put Shedeur at an even bigger disadvantage. With no clear advocate inside the organization, he was left stranded in a dangerous spot, battling against forces that were never really working in his favor.
Preseason games. And here's the other thing, number two. You have to have people who advocate for you when you are a lower round draft pick. We don't know who's advocating for him within the organization because we don't know who stood up for him and who really wanted to draft him. So I can tell you this right now.
Shedeur Sanders was never given a real chance. The system was built to hold him back. From the coaching staff to the top, the failure was crystal clear. This wasn't just football, it was about power and control. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and join the conversation.